Okay,
No.
there you go. Now it's
We have
recording.
a good message.
Yes. Okay, so I already went through this slide. So majority of the time I will be the one talking. Anna Lorena will also join in after the break. It is still recording, right? Yes.
Yes,
I can't see. Okay,
yes,
perfect.
it's recording.
Thank
There
you.
is a message saying that.
Perfect. Thank you. I apologize because once I start sharing screen, I can only see myself. And I can't see anyone else. And if Interpol or Anna Lorena do not mind spotlighting me, just so that I would be the one speaking and so that other images may not show, that would be great. Okay, so welcome everyone. I first want to do a land acknowledgement. I would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on this beautiful land, the traditional unceded territory of the Coast Salish, the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We are grateful that we're able to be on this land, and we want to do this land acknowledgement to acknowledge that there is this history that of Canada, and as settlers myself, and maybe many people here, to be reminded that we are on this unceded land. And I'm speaking on behalf of where I'm located. And I also, if you're not located in where the Coast Salish nations are, I do also want you to acknowledge the territory you are on also. And so today we will be doing some introductions and icebreaker. So at that time, I'll probably stop the sharing, and then I will go into stop the sharing so I can see everyone's face, and then we'll just kind of get to know each other a little bit. Today we will be talking a little bit more about assessment, empowerment, rapport building. There's no more outreach, I took that out. Communication, boundaries, and conflict resolution. So now we're going to start off with introductions and icebreaker. So I'm going to stop sharing because I can't see you all. And it's really just a way so that we get to know which role you're in, your name. And my icebreaker that I want to do is please say 2 truths and 1 lie. So everyone's going to guess which ones are your truths and which ones are your lies. It may take a bit of time to think about what your truths are and your lies are. So I'll give a bit of time in that way. And staff ourselves will also be participating. I will probably stop the recording here because everyone is now back in. So I'm going to start the recording again before I share screen because I can't see once I start sharing screen. So thank you everyone for doing the icebreaker. That was fun. So now that I'm sharing screen, I won't be able to see the chats or anything like that. So please do speak up if you have any questions. Okay, so the next thing I really wanted to kind of get to know was what are your expectations and what you wanted to learn also today? So can everyone see the whiteboard right now?
Yes.
So for those of you, can you see the top line that says select, text, draw, stamp, spotlight, eraser, all those lines?
No.
No.
Oh, you cannot see that. Okay. Can you click on the top that says view, and then can you do anecdote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Annotate.
Oh, sorry. Annotate. Sorry. I can't see anything, so I'm doing it through memory. I apologize.
Yeah, annotate.
Can people annotate?
No.
In view options.
So view should be on
so.
top. Okay, I see
Francesca's
Francesca's there. Interpol, Sebastian. Okay,
Okay.
Sebastian said hello and hi. Okay, I think you guys are getting some of them. And David, you can actually just say it out loud and I can type yours in. For expectations of what you want to learn today or what you want to talk about. And for those of you who cannot annotate, you can also let me know also. Okay, Francesca is saying, how do we set boundaries? Okay.
Soft skills.
Soft skills.
I don't know what I do.
My handwriting is actually better.
Which one is request live transcription or?
So when you go to the top, do you see view?
I'm
View?
using my iPad and I actually have to go to the bottom.
No.
Oh, your iPad goes to the bottom. Okay.
View full transcript. I know.
Shouldn't be transcript.
Do you mean you can click text and you can write in text?
What the most common problems one deals with in our roles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This gives me an idea of what else I need to cover on top of what I plan also. Okay.
Yeah, I was just hoping, since this was supposed to be my first meeting, although I can't see everybody, but I was hoping to meet others
Okay.
in the same similar role, to hear the expectations of this role would, as well as some examples of common issues that we would run into.
Okay. Meet others in similar roles and common issues. Okay, Sarah Davids. Okay, what will be the most challenge? That's from Soha, I think. How to
introduce myself.
How to introduce myself. Okay. All right.
Probably. Carla, I don't know if you have the option to click on text, and probably you can.
No, I know. I just figured out how to write. I'm the yellow one.
Yeah. And does Fong have anything to write? Did Kim and Wilkie also write already? Oh, okay, Fong's writing now. If writing is too challenging, there is text also.
Yeah.
How to
communicate efficiently with the
communicate efficiently with the participants?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Did I miss anyone, or does anyone else want to write anything? I will also take a picture of this before I take it down. Okay. Thank you for sharing. So hopefully we will get to talk a little bit more of what your expectations are for this role. Okay. So okay. So let's talk a little bit about what does it mean to be digital support volunteer and community resource volunteers. First of all, we want to be welcoming and friendly to each other, and that's to our peers of volunteers and also to participants, and of course to staff. We work hard too. And then we've talked a lot about training throughout the year. So there are some expectations where we want you to take some training to continue, especially for community resource volunteers. The government system is constantly updating, so there's going to be training throughout the year. So there are some trainings that we would recommend, and of course, if it doesn't fit in the schedule, then we would try to share the recording. Same with digital support volunteers. In terms of, we're not worried about your digital skills at all. However, sometimes there could be other skills that can be learned during the rapport building part with participants. Another important thing was to also know what Frog Hollow does, because sometimes you can also be challenged by participants asking, so you're a Frog Hollow volunteer, so what does Frog Hollow do? What kind of programs are there in Frog Hollow? It's sometimes important to also know what our missions are, our visions, and what programs we kind of do. And of course, if you feel like that you can't give enough information, you can refer to the staff, but it is also somewhat important to know what Frog Hollow does also. And Anna Lorena pointed out a good point that sometimes it's a rapport building part too. And it can also help with especially some of the seniors who are who comes to Frog Hollow and the kids have no idea what Frog Hollow is, and then they're like, what, my mom and dad or my grandpa and grandma are coming over to your place, meeting with a volunteer one-to-one. What is Frog Hollow? Sometimes you may have to step into the role to kind of explain that too. So it is important. And with the volunteer manual that's sent to you, there's quite a bit of a write-up on what Frog Hollow does too. And then another thing is have the responsibility of keeping track of your own hours. So before, we had binders in Frog Hollow where you would come and you can fill in your hours in person, but our center is still not, our neighborhood house is still not open yet. So I think I'm suggesting that maybe we can do something such as Google Drive so that we can keep track of hours online. And it is your responsibility, because under my belt, I have almost 30 volunteers. I will not remember all your hours. And especially for some of you, if you need hours to complete certain requirements, you will have to kind of take on that part. And please do let me know what you think about Google Drive too. And let me know if there's any questions, because I really can't see anyone if they raised hands or anything. So Anna Lorena and Interpol, please do step in there.
Okay.
And then, of course, keeping active communication with staff, other volunteers, and participants. It's just very important, because how it works is we would get the participants to call us, and then we pair the participants with the volunteers. Then the volunteers kind of set up their schedule, but you kind of have to keep active communication with us, so we can check in. We plan to have weekly meetings on how the progress is going, where you're recording. But if there's no information, we have no idea if you're still seeing the senior. We have no idea if you're doing the task. So please do keep an active communication with all of us. And so what does one-to-one service entail? What are the volunteer duties? So simply put, digital support volunteers, they provide digital supports to seniors, and community resource navigators, they help seniors fill out forms and navigate the systems and continue to do all that. So these are all things that we know what you signed up for. Sometimes what we don't think about are the hidden things. So assessments. So assessments take place with staff initially, because regardless if it's with volunteers or with participants, we do the initial assessment because they go through our emails and they go through our phone numbers. So we would fill out the initial assessment, but it is ongoing in terms with volunteers when they continue to support the seniors. It is ongoing. Maybe there's something that we didn't know in the beginning, and then all of a sudden, halfway through your first session or even second session, you realize, oh, there is this that we need to we need to think about or to include, and how do I alter or modify my way of interacting with the senior also. And then maybe there's other needs that comes out also. So it's an ongoing thing, that it isn't based through a form, but an ongoing kind of evaluation to seeing how to keeping tabs on your senior participant. They're kind of like your buddy. If there's any changes, you let us know, and you also keep track of that too. And empowerment is a huge thing. With digital support, a lot of digital support is, we want to emphasize the difference between tech support compared to facilitation also. We want to empower our seniors to be able to use computers. We don't want to do it for them. We want to give them that to be able to do it. And community navigators can be a little bit more challenging. They're supporting because they want, maybe there's a language barrier and all of that, but there could be other empowerment that can happen during the interaction also. And then rapport building is huge. Once you want to greet, like someone mentioned in the whiteboard, how do we effectively communicate? How do we greet? How do we meet the person in at first? That's all about rapport building. It isn't just like, oh, I know this is my duty. The senior came and this is all I want to do with them. There may be other stuff that you want to kind of consider also when you're building the rapport, and I'll go into detail for all these points too. And hugely alongside rapport building is communication. A lot of miscommunication can happen, so we need to be clear with our communication, and how do we do that sometimes. So let's start with assessment. So according to Segan's medical dictionary, its information is collected to identify the patient's needs and formulate a treatment plan. So simply how it says is, we do have a form. So we want to know the needs and the requests from the participants, needless if it's to fill out forms or if it's, I need help with my phone, for example. You gather information and you create a plan. So some of the digital support volunteers got their training over the weekend, and we're talking about creating plans for them. How do we help them learn, for example, create safe passwords? For example, community resource navigators, maybe a senior is like, oh, I don't know how to do this form. Maybe is it just filling out the form, or do you actually have to explain a little bit more, such as what is an eligibility for OAS? What language is required? So all of that is part of assessment also. It isn't just I bring in a form, I fill it for you, and then realize this senior doesn't actually qualify, for example, for this form, or for this this new grant or anything that they're bringing in. That's also part of the assessment. And then assessment also entails the health, the skills, the strengths, and the resources of the senior. So if what we mean by health is, maybe there's a disability, maybe there's a cognitive dysfunction, maybe there's mobility issues, we want to assess all of that when we're explaining. Maybe there's comprehension, or maybe there's other, and then certain skills, like maybe this senior is already really skilled in one area that maybe you can empower a little bit more on, and alongside with the strengths. How do we incorporate strengths of the seniors into our practice? And we learn all this through assessing and evaluating. And what resources do we need to provide, or what resources can they actually provide to us too?
I have a question, Lysandra.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, if the seniors that we meet, are they mostly healthy or relatively independent?
Well, that's a very good question. We can't guarantee that they're all going to be relatively healthy or independent, because our goal is really open to all seniors. We do hope that they will be more independent so that they can actually come to Frog Hollow to do that. But there's no guarantee that there may be mobility issues, for example.
But I'm guessing we will not meet so many like seniors with cognitive issues, right?
Yeah, generally we
Oh,
don't have a lot of that. But if it does come up, for example, this was a senior, like issues such as this was a healthy senior, but maybe suddenly there was an accident. Then, but then they're still in the process of waiting for that. Then what happens? So sometimes some issues can come up like health deterioration. We are supporting seniors, right? Seniors can deteriorate quite rapidly. And it could be that, oh, I filled out this form and no problem. We're in the waiting process. But all of a sudden you get this update of this senior who suddenly there's a health deterioration, but you're still kind of in the support of waiting for this application to kind of be approved, for example. Then there could be some more to kind of see like, oh, do I need to, how do we need to support this senior? Maybe it's coming up with a plan with the staff, or maybe it's time to refer, because we need to remember as community resource navigators, we are also referring out if we no longer can do it.
Okay, it's more complicated than I expected.
Yeah,
but
it's just something, we're not saying that these are common things that can happen, but these are things that can potentially occur.
thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay, back to share screen. Okay. So yes, I just want to emphasize that it can be continual. Staff will start and then continued with the paired volunteer. And we want to highlight, I think it was already highlighted during screening, that we would want the volunteer to kind of take over after the initial assessment with staff, because it will be too complicated for staff to constantly connect with the participant and be like, hey, what day works for you? And then connect with the volunteer. Hey, what day works for you? Does it work? And then it doesn't work. It's just easier if volunteers are willing to connect with the seniors, and we can and we've talked about, are you comfortable using your phone, for example, using internet and all of that too. So if there's more questions about that, please do let me know. So before I also want to stop sharing, I did create an assessment form for the purpose of this this presentation. So let me just pull it up. The digital support form and the community resource navigator form is a little bit different, just because of the nature of what is needed. So I'm just going to briefly show you all. So this is our digital support assessment form. So it's very brief. So what it is staff will start off with this. But what's important for volunteers to kind of see is also to know what the digital goals are and what notes there are, and maybe some of the strengths, maybe some of the interests, to kind of continue this assessment. Sorry.
Yeah, can you open a little bit? Can you do a little bit bigger the screen so we can? Yeah,
Better.
That's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see it's an initial contact that form that staff will start off with, and it will be sent to the volunteer. So volunteers get to know a little bit more, and then volunteers can continue to add the notes in the assessment on what is the plan to, and all of that. Are you able to see my other form, or still on the digital one right now?
Now we are in information advocacy.
Okay, perfect. So we call it information advocacy and referral assessment form for community resource navigators, because it's the purpose of kind of letting the community know what that means. You can see it's a little bit more complicated, because there could be forms that you might encounter, such as transportation, accommodation, for housing. And that's why it's included maybe what other activities there are to do referrals, for example. So the community resource navigators form can be a little bit more complicated. Any questions?
Can you like email us the forms?
Yeah. So after, I would want to emphasize that after this orientation, the slides will be sent, and then the forms will be sent to you too. And then the recording will too. All right. Back to share screen. Oh, I have to start from the beginning. And then now on to empowerment. So according to Haber, it's having the opportunity to learn, discuss, decide, and act on decision. Clients at a community site means not only to provide service to them, but also to collaborate with them, to encourage their participation. And this is what I talk about in terms of when you're supporting the senior, you're collaborating with the senior. Don't let the senior depend on you to do everything for them. If in any way you can empower them to take parts in their roles, please do so. You want to build the dignity and autonomy also. You don't want to be like, okay, let me do this for you. You want to, and it doesn't mean that in empowerment that it's like, oh, but I am filling this form for this person, and I am demonstrating how to create this app for this senior. But it's also other empowerment, like, oh, I learned about knowing about their interests and all that may be good. It's like, oh, I remember you saying that it might be unrelated to the forms and all of that. It's like empowering them to be like, hey, can you go mail your own form, for example? If you're interested in doing something, do you want to do a bit of volunteer work for us or go into the community? Because part of all our role is to help with isolated seniors to kind of expand their vision also. And then we want to find opportunities for participants to do it themselves. And we want to find strengths in participants and help them build up. So that's kind of like what we say hidden, because it isn't, we know that the roles are digital support, and we know the roles are navigating systems and all of that. But how do we incorporate creative ways to empower seniors at the same time? And then the rapport building is huge. We're building trust with them. So we start from the initial interaction and continue throughout the relationship. So meaning after the staff kind of sends you the senior and you start up with the initial interaction, regardless if it's from phone, online, or if it's in person, the rapport begins there. And the rapport continues to build throughout, because you might be seeing this client this senior more than once or twice. And communication is huge, building the rapport part, because as I mentioned, there could be a lot of miscommunication, and we want to be clear. We don't want to assume that, oh, I left a voicemail, that you got it. We want to follow up, for example. And I want to talk a little bit more about the active listening and the non-verbal and the verbal communication that we might encounter when we're actually interacting with the senior, and how we continue to build rapport that way. So on to communication. So I want to give this talks about active and reflective listening, and there's my gosh, it slipped my mind. What is this called? The abbreviation I want to talk about is listen. So to represent L, we want to look interested and get interested. So when someone brings a phone to you, you want to be interested in what they need help with. I mean, I'm sure all of you came to volunteer because you wanted to help, right? And then for forms, it's the same way. Like, we want to be engaged. You want to show that you do want to help this senior. You want to involve yourself by responding. So it isn't like, and what we mean is when you're filling out the form, or even before filling out the form, some of the conversations that might happen with the senior, that can be very, very rich also. So you want to, they may say something like, oh, I really have this challenge of filling out the form. You don't want to just be like, just give me the form, I will fill it out for you. You want to kind of listen and be like, oh, I must be tough trying to find someone to fill out this form for you, something like that. And then you want to stay on topic, because you want to get it done. Yes, it's good to actively listen, but you don't want the whole session to be on something that wasn't originally what the planned thing was. You don't want to be like, oh, they end up talking about the kids and all that, and you didn't end up helping with the phone or filling out the forms. And sometimes it's testing your understanding, like clarify what it means. It's like, oh, when you said that, what did you mean by that? Or also testing if seniors understanding what you're saying. Oh, can you give me your, can you provide me your ID? And then maybe they didn't hear and they provide something else. Also, it's like, oh, sorry, was I not clear there? Evaluate messages and neutralize your feelings also, because sometimes we don't want to bring our emotions into the session because something happened at home, for example. So really, with active listening, it does help us to develop the rapport and build the rapport, and it also helps us to set limits also. That goes on to boundaries, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. We get to clarify situations and feelings. And with active listening, we want to be present. Like we don't want to be like, oh, I'm talking to you, but oh, I'm listening to you, but I'm on the phone, for example. Unless something they're talking to you about is related. Oh, can you, sorry, I'm listening to you. I'm just searching up something for you. You want to relay all these messages to your senior. You don't want to be like, just let me do this and not relay any of this. You want to be active in both ways, and you want to be focusing on the client. And I like to always put this out for listening skills, because listen also, it's spelled the same way as silent. It's the same 6 letters of listen that equals to silent. And that's important because listening can mean that you're actually being quiet. You're not over talking from the other side. You're actually listening. Oh, and then we also want to talk about nonverbal communications, because nonverbal is really the communication where you don't hear. For example, it could be the eye contact. It could be the body language that the person is feeling, maybe moving towards the door a little bit more, moving away from you a little bit more. These are all nonverbal. So it's nonverbal about with the senior and also yourself, right? Like, what are your nonverbal saying? Are you frowning a lot? Are you like, just notice what it is that maybe you may be communicating a lot more messages that you don't want to. And then I'd also want to talk a bit about the roadblocks to communication, especially with the poor listening techniques from the volunteers. So looking away or looking distracted can be an indicator. Failing to acknowledge or greet or engage in small talks. So like I mentioned, if someone comes in and you would want to say, hey, hi, my name is blah, how are you? You don't want to be like, you made an appointment to do forms or to learn how to do the apps. Okay, come sit down, I'll show you. Like, you don't want to be as hard that way. You still want to engage in the small talks. Crossing arms and leaning away is sometimes a huge indicator. Yes, crossing your arms can mean you're cold, but when you have a really down face and you're like crossed arm, like leaning away, like not listening, it can show to be like, I don't really want to talk with you. I really don't like what you're telling me right now. And then continue with another activity while the person is speaking. So for example, someone's talking to you and then you're like on your phone, you're like, yeah, continue. But you're not really doing something that's actually listening. You're actually doing something else. And over talking or interrupting, like you didn't let them finish. It's like, yeah, I got it already. So can we go back into this topic? Yes, you want to redirect, but you don't want to do it abruptly. You don't want to keep over talking. Yeah, I heard that already. I don't want to. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You're going to really turn off the senior. And then another thing that now we're doing a lot of Zoom calls online, I do want to encourage, if possible, if you're doing online, to not turn off your camera, because it's really hard to see the nonverbals. Especially for seniors, like, I don't really see you. Are you here? I don't know when you're talking. It is a lot more complicated. On the phone is different than because both are on the phone, you don't see. But if both of you are on video calls, I do encourage you to not turn off your camera, because that is part of building rapport also. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Again, please don't raise your hands because I can't see.
How common are we going to have a video call with seniors? I was assuming that we will do it in person.
It's probably not that common, but it is still possible, right? Like, for example, if you finish filling the form and then the senior called, it's like, hey, I got a letter and I can't, I don't know what it says. Maybe they know how to, maybe they were like, oh, I don't know how to, they may go on a video call to be like, here, I show you a letter, this is what it says. Or it could just be, let's go on a phone call and to talk a little bit about it. But with Community Resource Navigator, it might be less common, but for digital support, for example, that might be very common. To learn how to use Zoom, for example, you do need to practice online Zoom calls and all of that, so that it could be more common depending on the volunteer roles. So you want to highlight in both roles. Any other questions? Okay, if no more, I'm
Okay.
actually going to get you guys to practice in pairs. So I'm going to put you all into breakout rooms. And this is what I want you to do. So imagine you're in a meeting with a senior for the first meeting. This is a sample script. So, hi, my name is Lysandra. It's a pleasure to meet you. What would you like to do today? And then the senior replies, I would like to learn how to install apps on my phone for digital support volunteers, or I would like you to help me fill out this OAS form. My children did not want to help me. Getting old is tough. Then what do you continue doing? And each of you will actually rotate roles. One of you will start off as being a senior and the other being a volunteer. Then 5 minutes later, we're going to rotate roles. And then we want to practice what we've discussed so far. How do we kind of keep the conversation going? How do we keep how do we continue the assessment? How do we continue the empowerment and active listening and empathy? It's I don't expect you to be like, oh, I have to be an expert in this, but it is sometimes good to kind of practice, and this might be able to help with engaging with communication and small talks.
Hi, Lysandra. I got to prepare my kids for summer school, so I may not be able to join this breakout session. But can I be like mute myself? But yeah, because they have to leave at 12.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Would you be able to join for like 5-10 minutes, or you already have to go now?
Oh, you're on mute. On mute.
I can stay online, but I got to make them eat the lunch.
She cannot be in the breakout rooms.
Okay. Okay.
She will not participate. Yeah.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Lysandra, I don't know if you have to adjust the time for these breakout rooms, because I don't know if
We are getting behind schedule.
absolutely. Yeah, because probably 5 minutes for each one, probably it would take a lot.
So that would be
probably
10 minutes-ish.
it-
So yeah, we'll see what we can do. Maybe we have to adjust some of the things, but I do want a little bit of practice here. So I'm going to start putting you all into breakout rooms, and I'll give the warning also. Sorry, let me redo this. Having difficulty with this breakout room. I can't add rooms for some odd reason. I apologize. I was having issues with breakout rooms, so I have to bring you guys all back to,
Oh,
yeah.
I will write in the chat what they have to do. Is that okay?
Interpol, are you able to do breakout rooms? I think I'm having issues with breakout rooms.
Yeah, sure. How many breakout needs?
So we want to put pairs in. So preferably community resource navigators in the room. So community resource navigators include Gigi, Soha, David, Francesca.
Hi, Lysandra, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, so I can't seem to, when I go into the breakout rooms, it doesn't, my audio doesn't work at all.
Oh, so do we have to move your
That's
phone in there
right.
too? Or it doesn't?
I guess so, yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I can't, I'm just got the video back on my laptop, as you can see, but I still have to stay on my
Right.
Yeah, the audio is from the phone.
Yeah.
I created rooms.
Okay, perfect.
Can you see?
I can't see, unfortunately. But yeah, so Frida, Soha, Francesca, David, and Gigi, they're community resource navigators. All the rest are digital support. So if you can put Gigi, David, Francesca, Soha, Frida in 2 separate rooms. Francesca won't be joining, so just put her into one of the 2. So if, for example, Gigi with Soha or Frida with David, and then Francesca joining another room. And then all the rest, Sebastian can be paired with either Carla or Fang or Wilkie and Kim. So those would be the digital support. I'm sorry for this technical difficulty. Okay, so we will try to join each room also to kind of help with the support also. So if you can let me know which room you join, I'll join the other room.
Just let me know about the time because I think that the time was not clear. How
Yeah, so we're gonna
is 11:26
so we're gonna probably try to bring them back at 11:30.
in 4 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 11:32. We'll bring them back around 11:32. And then so hopefully that's I'll give the warning at about 11:29 to be like, please switch roles. I'll broadcast it to everyone. And then they'll come, and then hopefully at 11:32 I'll bring them back in, and then there won't be a break. I'll just quickly go through the boundaries and all of that, and then we'll go into practice of scenarios, and then to conflict resolution.
You don't. I just have an idea because we are running
The recording. Hello. Oh, you guys came back fast. Managed to switch role already? I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Probably they didn't hear your
Oh, okay.
your answer, your question.
So I guess Fang was with Carla.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
They're probably still role playing as we wait for everyone to come back. Okay, I see David back. Oh, whoa. Who got
Everybody.
cut off?
Oh,
I'm
that
returning. I'm
always happens.
returning.
You're returning.
Good. Okay, is there-
Here
Okay,
somewhere.
Yeah.
looks like everyone has come back. So how was the practice? I am sorry, it was short. We were behind schedule, so we have to shorten the breakout room a little bit more. Did both roles get to practice as being the senior and the volunteer?
More or less. We kind of just wung it.
Yes, we did.
We were winging it.
Okay. And as the senior participant, did you feel that your volunteer was able to, did you feel supported in any way?
Yeah.
And what about the volunteer
Yes.
roles?
Wow, too many diversions on one. Okay, yeah. When I was questioning as a senior, I found that my question was, what is internet? I only have a laptop I just bought. I don't even know about computers. And so, but the diversion was where there was too many words that came out that I didn't understand.
From the volunteer.
Technical words, yeah.
Yeah, like
Okay.
there's Google and there's Firefox and there's other ones names and data and that. And I said, well, what is data? I don't understand. What do you mean by data?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So, so then what would you say the volunteer needs to do?
I
in
think
support them?
suggest that if you're gonna talk about what kind of, determine what kind of laptop they have and which system they have. Is it an Apple or is it an Android or Microsoft? And then delve that in only, and talk about what the internet is and how to connect to it. And
Okay.
then comes up with the place where that person is living, and then tell them that, okay, you either have two service providers. Service provider is people who can give you the access to the internet.
Right. Okay. So what I'm hearing is slowing down and to
Yeah.
really be thorough with what it is so that you don't confuse the senior anymore. And this is digital support. Same thing can happen with Community Resource Navigator. If you go too fast on, I need this ID, I need this, I'm going to fill out this form to them, it can be too quick for the senior also. And when they're confused, this rapport is probably not going to be working too well.
Yeah. Because I had a experiment where experience with one of my cousins in Edmonton, and she didn't know nothing about computers. And then what happened then was, I says, okay, usually it starts off with www, for that, and I said, that's called the World Wide Web. Think of a world and a big spider, and it's creating a web around the whole world. How does that connect to each other? See, so then she was understanding what the World Wide Web meant.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Wilkie. Okay, well, hopefully in that experience you were able to kind of kind of put yourself in shoes of not just a volunteer, but also as a senior also, and to kind of see how hard it could be really to understand, and also to kind of build up on the skills also.
When talking to seniors, try to use simple language, like those computer technical terms, right? Some of them don't understand.
And I think even for community resource navigators, more complicated things about what is OAS, they're like, huh? What is GIS? What? They might be like, oh, isn't there a form that's for 65 and older? You need to really know what it is that they need also when they come, because they might not know. And we can't expect them to all know. It's like, oh, my friend told me this. And then that's where the assessment has to come in. This is where the evaluation has to come in. This is where, when you're building the rapport, you might need to, then you get a better picture. Oh, the senior isn't actually talking about OAS. They're talking about CPP, for example. All right. No more. No
Can
more.
I just make a comment on that?
Yes, absolutely.
That Gigi, when I was playing senior role, and it was great how she offered that that part of the what she was going to help us was to look in, because I had just asked to look into the supplement program, and she said, let's look into some other programs and see if you're eligible as well, which was great.
Okay, perfect. So expanding on maybe also providing resources and all that. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're gonna quickly dive into boundaries, because that was something that I saw on, oh, why does it keep doing that to me? Okay, so boundaries. So what are boundaries? Boundaries are personal limits to how far we go with others and how far we allow them to go with us. Boundaries are also the core of building and maintaining healthy and meaningful relationships. It's crucial in healthcare and confidentiality, meaning when you have healthy boundaries, you don't just create healthy relationships, you also take good care of yourself. And boundaries also entail that you're keeping good confidentiality of your clients, so you're not talking about their information. And being mindful with boundaries, the cultural differences and individual differences, because your definition of boundary can be different than other. There are some that are very clear, but there are some that might have a cultural difference. And sometimes understanding that can also blur the line even more, but also help with understanding with boundaries also. And with healthy boundaries, these are the advantages of healthy boundaries. You can have better mental health, good emotional health, you develop autonomy, you develop an identity, you avoid burnout and you can influence others' behaviors. So meaning that healthy boundaries, meaning the most common thing with helpers is we never say no. Oh yes, I can help you with everything. I can help you with everything. But in truth, is it actually damaging your health? Emotionally, mentally, are you burning out quicker? Are you feeling tired for the days longer, like because you're constantly saying yes? Oh, I'll go out of my way to just help you. Really set the boundaries. And you want to define the boundaries. So if a client comes to see you and is set for a certain time, maybe you say, sorry, our time's up. Next appointment. Someone gives you a call after your hours. Don't pick up. What do you do? Communicate and say what you need, and tell them about the boundaries. Like, these are my personal boundaries. You want to define that with the senior also. It sets an example for them too, so they know what they can do, and are they actually violating your boundaries. Stay simple. Don't over explain too much about it, and sets consequences. Say what is important. Like, if you're late to an appointment, we're set for 2 hours, then you only get an hour and a half. But if it continues, oh, it's okay, I can actually set later and later, then maybe the senior is gonna be like, oh, okay, it's okay, I always show up late, for example. And now we were going to put you guys all back into breakout rooms to talk about different scenarios, but due to time constraint, we'll go through one scenario and then we'll discuss in a group. So example one, we want to go for discussion is a senior and you have agreed to meet for 2 hours. When you're ready to go after the 2 hours, the senior asks you to stay. You feel sorry for the senior, yet you have another engagement. What should you do in this situation? So this can happen for digital support volunteers. This can happen with community resource navigators also. What do you do?
I would just apologize that I have another engagement and then reassure them by setting up another appointment to follow up, to continue with what they would like to continue talking about.
Okay. Okay, so in that way you don't break the rapport and you set your boundaries also. Anyone else?
Try to explain. I don't know why I cannot share my video. It says like the host has disabled it. That's why I cannot turn off my camera.
So that's why we can't see you, Soha?
Now you can.
Yes,
yeah.
now.
Oh,
Yes.
there you go. We can see you.
Try to explain. I don't know, but I think try to explain the senior in a good manner, like to be polite, and try to explain him that unfortunately you cannot stay more time because you have another, I don't know, another meeting. But maybe if you are free after, you can share again or spend again a few times with him. And I don't know, but I think try to put him like you say, oh, okay, I can explain later, then don't be frustrated, maybe and also write in the report that you cannot stay more time or extended your time because, and you put your reasons, no?
Right. So you want to stay calm in the situation, but at the same time also be nice and recognize that a little bit more time is needed and to set up another appointment. Okay.
Yes.
Great.
I think I would tell the seniors that I have another obligations, but really depends on their request. I'm not sure about setting up another appointment. Yeah, so I will try to it really depends upon the type of request. Maybe there are other seniors that are more resourceful. I'm not sure if I can refer the seniors to another person.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing that you're not sure if actually the senior needs another appointment. It could be something else related that's not related to your role, and maybe referring out may be a better idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then I would think that you would tell this the senior that I have an obligation for 2 hours, and if we run out of time, so you will have to rebook again, and so then we can continue from there. So then they can understand that they have the option of keeping it going for the next session.
Mm-hmm. So it isn't an abrupt stop where you're no longer. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot of healthy boundaries of really understanding the time management part, but also not pushing making the senior feel bad about that also. Okay. So the next part, we're gonna, there are actually other scenarios in there that I will keep in the slides, but we just don't have the time to discuss, and I apologize because we're a little bit behind schedule and I don't want to keep you any later than noon. So I'm gonna pass it to Ana Lorena to continue with conflict resolution.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, this is the last topic that we select because we really consider that is very important, right? Because we really recognize that conflict is part of our life. They are present in every moment. So the ability to solve them is very crucial. It's a life skill that everyone has to have it. And you already are adults, you know that, oh, well, there is young people too, but you will know that you will need some abilities, skills to know how to, here's the definition, how you will resolve or find a peaceful solution for some kind of disagreement, fight, or of oppression. Yeah, so the next slide. Yeah, well, probably you will find a lot of skills, a lot of suggestions how you can solve your situation of conflict. But we select these two ones, like we consider are very important main skills to solve a conflict. The first one is how you quick stress is a relief, a quick stress relief, right? Being able to stay in control will allow you to have these abilities to solve the conflicts. Accurately read another person's body language. We were talking about the verbal and non-verbal communication, right? Hear what someone is really saying. If you are calm, you will really will be able to understand what is underlined, you know. Be aware of your own feelings, and you will be we will connect that with the second skill, right? Be in touch with your own deep-rooted needs and communicate your needs freely. If you really keep calm in a stressful moment, probably you will be able to do this. We will continue with some idea later. The other skill is the emotional awareness, and this is crucial for life too, you know, for parenting, for grandparenting. So being connected with your feelings, even though I'm gonna really stress this idea, even though strong emotions like anger, sadness, and fear, if you are connected with that and avoiding solutions that are strictly rational will help you too. When we say that, probably we always are if we are just focused on what is going on in our rational, in our mind, and we are disconnected with our feelings, we have to be careful of that, right? But if you are emotional awareness, you will be able to understand what is really troubling other people, understand yourself, including what is really troubling you, stay motivated until the conflict is resolved, communicate clearly and effectively, and obviously interest and influence others. Probably this is very related to the concept of emotional intelligence and all that kind of stuff. The next slide, you will wonder, wow, quick stress relief, how can I do that? How to keep calm very quick, you know? Well, you will find a lot of kind of suggestions, techniques, but we select here one that I think that it could work very, very, and it could be easy and useful, you know? How you can find something, and you have to know yourself, that engage one or more of your senses. You know, always think that probably when you stimulate your senses, something happening in your brain, something happening in your body. So what are the senses? Sight, sound, taste, smell, touch, or probably trying some movement, right? There are some examples that how you can activate your senses. You know, you can squeeze a stress ball, smell a relaxing scent, taste a soothing cup of tea, you know. And this is the suggestion. Probably you know already what really soothes you, but if you don't, you have to try to find time to find things that really can calm you. For example, I have some stones here that I can touch. I have a look, this is a bean of coffee that you can smell. The idea that sometimes when you feel very stressed, you have to activate your senses. There will be much more techniques, but this was a fast one. Yeah, and more ideas. Well, because you will have these slides, so you will have more time to read more deep, and if you want to go to find more information, it will be great. But what else you can do to managing conflict? Well, be aware of and respect difference. We already, Lisandra also mentioned, this is a very important. You will never find someone that really thinks like you know. Listen for what is felt and what is said. Make conflict resolution the priority than the winning or being right. This is not a competition. You know, this is a human relationship. So there is no somebody that will win and somebody that will lose. Is the conflict resolution the priority? Focus on the present. And probably I will connect this with the next idea. Be willing to forgive. This is very, very important, right? Because if we are willing to forgive, we will be able to focus on the present, and we are not going to be, going to the past and to the past. Pick your battles. Oh my God, this is my slogan in life. For parenting, for everything. Sometimes you have 5 doors open, 5 battles there, but probably not all of them you have to face it. So probably you have to select 2 of these old battles that will really you can prioritize, right? Know when to do something, go, probably related to the willing to forgive, and communicate in a humorous way. Well, this is very nice, but you also have to be careful with that, right? You have to be sure that you are laughing, you are smiling with the person, no from the person, right? No about something to that person. So you have to keep this is a very delicate a skill, if you have to assess is the moment for the humorous way. Well, and the other slides, I think, I don't know, Lisandra, if you can say how we are with the time, but this is a comparative table between 2 ways, the unhealthy and some healthy way to resolve conflict. Unhealthy, what is unhealthy? Something that it won't work, or it won't help you, it won't function in a really good way. Something healthy is something that will give you good tools, and will work. If it doesn't work, it's an unhealthy thing. So I think you can read it, but very, very general. I will select this. An unhealthy way, it will be to react explosive, angry, hurtful, and resentful reaction. It's very important in a resolved conflict situation to keep calm, non-defensive, and respectful. Let's see, I will go to the last idea, a very unhealthy, and this is a belief that probably you would like to avoid conflicts. And it's a great temptation, but this is in a very unhealthy way. Feeling fearful or avoiding conflict is an unhealthy way to solve it. I believe that facing conflict head on is the best thing for both sides, right? These are the idea of avoiding probably is very related when you are not aware of your feelings, when you are too sad, or is a topic that makes you feel anger or something like that. So I really went very, very quick in these slides. You will have it, so you will have the time to read it in a better way. So we also have some scenarios situations that we can imagine. So Lisandra, I think that the scenario uno, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can just imagine in this scenario with just a few minutes to talk, to discuss, you know, the scenario uno said, you have been helping this senior for a couple of sessions and you have built a good rapport with this senior. I mean, a good relation. During this session, you notice that she is not in good mood, so you want to check in. As you check in, the senior stood up and started pointing her fingers at you, saying that her friend told her that you have been teaching her things wrong, and says you should not you should not even be in this position. She continues to say mean things. She is very mad with you. Okay, so we would like to hear some ideas that how you will deal with this situation. It's a kind of conflict situation. Okay, these are the questions that you can do it in. How would you handle the situation? What are the big challenge in that situation? What is going through the senior's mind? What do you think is in her mind? What is going through the volunteer's mind in your mind? Well, and this is an imaginative situation. Imagine yourself being in the role of the senior in each scenario. Does anything change when you try to feel how the seniors will feel? So yeah, let's see what you can share. So remember, I don't know if we can come back to the situation, Lisandra. Yeah, the scenario. Yeah, this is the scenario. This person is blaming you that you have not been teaching the right things because her friend told her that you have been teaching wrong things and you don't deserve that position.
First of all, I would remind them that I'm a volunteer and that I'm doing the best I can, and I'm still learning as things change regularly. But I would also say if she's not happy with me, we can find another volunteer. She, they, whoever they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, if it's fallen apart, then there's no point in continuing. But try to not take it personally, obviously, and just keep calmly. Yeah.
Okay, that's an option. You know, trying to make them understand that you are doing your best.
Yeah. Yeah. If that doesn't seem to be working, then we can say, okay, maybe somebody else could help.
Perfect. Thank you, David.
Thank you. Does somebody else have another idea how to handle this situation?
I will try to I will take a look to see if I really make a mistake. And if I really made a mistake, I think I would explore ways to offer a fix. Or maybe Lysandra can help.
Yeah. Like you mean come to me and I can support.
Maybe,
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that is something that Lysandra has been mentioned. No? If you also are feeling that something that you cannot handle, you have us in the team, right? Yes.
Yeah. We do want to emphasize that we are here too.
Yeah. I believe sometimes it's possible that the senior's friend is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah, it is possible too. Yeah.
Kim?
Thank
you. That's right. Well, we can explain to her that everyone, their teaching method is different. So that means, okay, if the friend pointed out that you taught her something wrong, you can ask her, what did I teach you wrong? Can you show me? Then you can see the way the way we teach will be a different way. So, but we have to be calm too, right? So,
Exactly.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that Kim's answer is very similar to what Sebastian is saying in the chat. I don't know if you can read it. Sebastian is said, I will initiate by apologizing, then trying to figure it out what the misunderstood error was by asking in a way that I can learn more. Phrasing the question in a way that isn't disrespectful, but seeks to learn more from her friend.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
So really finding the balance of not taking it too personal and pushing hard and be like, no, I'm definitely right. Your friend is definitely wrong, but really taking a step back, really trying to understand the situation. And another thing to also point out is the senior's not in a good mood too. So maybe certain things have been, maybe aside from what the friend told her, there could be other things that we need to check in. And yes, and we don't expect you to be like, doing therapy and sessions or anything like that. However, we do want to mention that things like this can happen. And some of the conflict can be more implicit where it might be targeted more towards you, for example, too. And then that's also something to kind of think about like, oh, well, I don't feel safe being a volunteer with this participant anymore. I don't think we can continue to build on this rapport, and it can happen. So we did talk a little bit about what are some of the common challenges. These, I wouldn't say these are common challenges, but there are times
Possible.
where, yeah, possible challenges of this happening where a friend told me this, and how come you're not doing it this way? That's one of the most common questions we get. And then it's great, like explaining that it's like, well, different ways of teaching and all of that. Another sometimes common one is your age, sometimes challenging your age. One of the scenario I actually had was before was about like, oh, you're so young. Are you sure you're able to help me? What is your experience? And they start to get a little bit more personal and challenging, and it gets personal. Then maybe you start feeling all these emotional things. It's like, why is this senior targeting me? Maybe their whole intention wasn't to target you, but this is something they fear for also. And it can create conflict like that also. So we kind of just want to let you know that you are building relationship with other people, and at times there can be heated arguments. You can try to calm, but if you don't feel safe, let us know. And that there's no one way that fits all for scenarios. Each one can teach differently. Also thinking about the cultural differences, the individual differences, thinking about your boundaries. Are they also violating your boundaries? Are you not feeling safe? And this is where you have to come to us, and we can actually also help. But we don't expect all our volunteers to be like, oh, something happened, I'm just going to go find a staff, before you handling the situation at all too. So we want to emphasize that part. So that's really all we have to share today. Sorry that we're rushing and we're over time, but I do want to ask if there's any questions from anyone. I'll stop sharing screen now because it's really hard to see everyone's face. Me. I understand this, it has passed the time. So if you don't have any questions, feel free to leave. But if you do have questions, please, we will be staying here a little bit longer to answer any questions. And if you have any feedback about this session or you want to learn a little bit more, also let me know, and we can try to see if we can do another one, or we go into a more in-depth meeting one-to-one also to talk about different things too. Thank you,
I just
Sebastian.
want to thank you for your time, and I think it was quite informative.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Thank you. Have a good day, David.
Bye.
Okay, if no
Okay.
other questions, I'll say bye to everyone.
One
Oh,
question.
Yes,
Francesca.
Francesca.
I actually like went through the BC Seniors Guide,
Hmm.
and actually I think there are lots of information and sometimes not so easy to digest all of them. Yeah,
Right.
so I would like to double confirm with you that your side will like do the initial assessment and direct us to like to let us know what forms to fill in, like at the very beginning.
Yes, so let's backtrack a little bit. So we will meet with the senior to see what the need is, and we will do the assessment that we created from Frog Hollow. However, in terms of, we would also ask about the eligibility and what is it that they need. But thank you, Carla. Bye-bye. But when you're actually meeting with this senior, you still need to kind of reiterate, it's like, so this is the eligibility for this form. This is the form you're really wanting to do. And you may take on a bit more of the role of what David like said, I think Gigi did, was like, oh, maybe you are eligible for other things. Are you interested in doing that also? So in terms of the form filling for the senior, for if it's OAS or GIS, then that's based through the package that was sent to you all through the training already. If there are forms that you're like, oh, I really can't find it online, then you can kind of like let us know and we can see if we can find it or if we can reach 411 to find it online too. I don't know if that answers the questions or if I misunderstood your question.
No. I'm just wonder if we will have a checklist, like the kinds of documents that the seniors need to bring to the session.
Well,
Yeah,
I think for different forms, they have different requirements, right?
Yes.
And from my memory, when I helped them check, a lot of the forms actually have a checklist near the end of the application where they actually say, oh, are you sure they've already brought their marriage license, for example? Are you sure they already brought their SIN number? Are they sure that you already brought this? I know that many of the forms do have this checklist.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I need your guidance at the start.
Yeah, definitely. We are all
Yeah,
here.
and I mean, we're here. Really, we will try to guide as much as possible because I know individual needs for volunteers can be different also. So we're here to guide. What we're really hoping volunteers to do is really try to set up appointments yourself, because it's a lot more convenient if you're like talking with the seniors, like, oh, I'm actually free this Saturday or like this Friday, rather than me being like, okay, let me check with my volunteer if she's free this Friday, and then get back to you and be like, are you free this Friday? Yes, it is, but I'm only free this time. Go back to the senior. Actually, she's only free this time and they're doing Friday. Then it's just too much going back and forth for us as staff. So we do want volunteers to kind of help in that sense, where to create schedules. And of course, if you need to come to Frog Hollow, you still have to connect with me. It's like, oh, I booked an appointment with this senior at this time. Can I come and use this room at this time? And then definitely we need to connect with you in that sense. But yeah, if, for example, initially, we will definitely talk with the senior about it, so we get more detail, like, oh, does the senior actually need help with maybe not just OAS, maybe CPP, and there's also maybe CRB involved, or anything like that. If there's more than one form, then we'll kind of get all the information we need. And then likely we'll also we'll tell the seniors like, okay, so the senior needs help with 3 forms, for example. I told the senior that you're going to help with this form with him or her first, and then afterwards, then we will proceed that way, but then we might not be involved with the second form because you're setting up the appointments. But if you need any support from us, definitely email us or call us, and then we'll support in that way too.
I got a few quick questions. So with the COVID restrictions easing, and is there any expectation, let's say, for example, for volunteers to have have certain shots for a certain period of time for visiting the facility or meeting with seniors? Or is there any expectation about, let's say, for example, if volunteers, are they aware, like if I'm going and if someone else is going, are they going to be having certain safety precautions on that?
Okay, so in terms of vaccine wise, let's answer the vaccine question first. There's no mandatory, we can't, it's a personal choice. So we can't restrict to be like, oh, volunteers have to have 2 doses already to be able to volunteer with us, or you have to be fully vaccinated after your 2nd dose for 14 days before you can volunteer with us. We don't have that restriction because in truth, it's not mandatory. So if it's not mandatory, we can't make it mandatory. Of course, when a participant, for example, raises this preference, then we do kind of have to inquire a little bit more about like, but we will let the participants know it's like, it's a personal choice. So you kind of have to, we may only have volunteers who can support in that way. We can inquire, but volunteers do not have to answer because it's a personal choice. Like if we ask you, hey, Gigi, did you already get 2 doses? It's up to you to answer. You could say, I prefer not to answer this question. And then that's all your rights also. And so we can't enforce that volunteers have to have their doses, and we can't enforce that our seniors all have to have this doses. But if this is raised, we may be able to be like, okay, we can try to inquire a little bit about it, but we can't guarantee that we're going to get an answer for that. And we don't expect that in the role also. And then can you repeat your second question? Sorry.
That's okay. With the restrictions easing, how are the safety precautions going to change in, let's say, if we need to book for in-person appointments?
So right now, we are still not open because we don't have an opening plan of everyone coming back. So back in the days, we had our doors open. Anyone can come in. We're still not at that stage yet because we are still finalizing our restriction plan. And right now, I know that if we are booking as of now, our precaution is still, you come into the room, we still have to check the checklist with you. Staff needs to be on site. You cannot go to our facility without a staff. So staff will be guiding you throughout the whole process. Maybe not being in the room when you're filling out the forms and all that, but right now we do still recommend masks wearing indoors. If you can't be distance enough, we will do the checklist of like, have you experienced COVID in the last 14 days? Have you traveled? Like all these, then we write down your information for contact tracing purposes, sanitize your hands. And then we as staff would have already sanitized the space that you need to use before like the chairs and the tables that's needed. And if you need laptops or anything like that, we would have sanitized those areas too. So the high touch areas. And then we just ask that after in there, we will get a space. Each room has designated amount of numbers in each room, depending on the space. And then you meet with the senior, and then afterwards, we just ask that you also sanitize anywhere that you have used also, and then we would sign you out. So that's pretty much the protocol of using indoor space in our facility right now. And then if it's the Clinton Park, right now we don't have indoor space to use yet, but we have outdoor space. So we'll set up a table. Those will be sanitized, but it's going to be outdoors. But we do have Wi-Fi from the field house that can extend out. And if it doesn't extend, we have Wi-Fi sticks that can also support in that way. And again, because mask is no longer mandatory, we do still recommend, but that being that, saying that, it does make it tough. I know a lot of our seniors are pretty good with still wearing masks. So sometimes volunteers may be like, are you comfortable with me not wearing mask? And they may say yes or no. So this is where the kind of like boundary part and the comfortness comes from in terms of still navigating this changing COVID world too. I don't know if that answers your question, Gigi.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, if you don't have any more questions, I don't want to keep you any longer. Oh, Interpol has a question.
It's related something else.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, so sorry for the rush of the session also. We wish that we were able to put you in breakout rooms a lot more, but in the slides there will be more scenarios to kind of look at, and it's good to kind of review and see how you would put in that situation, and if anyway, maybe when we do debriefs or start doing the pairing, maybe we can kind of bring back some scenarios to kind of practice in our debrief session also. Okay. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Yes, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
you.
Yes, Interpol.